The bartender looked at her as if she had just asked for a one-way ticket on the Titanic. "Listen, girl," he said, wiping the counter with a towel that seemed to remember the 70s. "I've been working here for 43 years. In that time, 17 people came to this town asking about horses. 3 came back, 2 of them, in plastic bags." Evelyn didn't look away. She watched his hands, large, knotted fingers, one missing a phalanx, the skin marked with scars from working with wire and hooves. "My sister came here 3 months ago," she said. "Her name is Anna. Blonde hair to her shoulders, wears an old green jacket, afraid of the dark, and she's never ridden a horse in her life. The police said she went into the mountains and got lost. Do you know where she is?" The bartender fell silent. The silence stretched so long that Evelyn could hear the wind outside, pushing tumbleweed down the empty street. In this town, if it could even be called that, there wasn't even a proper road. 3 houses, a gas station, a bar, and the endless expanse of Montana, which began right beyond the last post and probably didn't end until Alaska. "The address you gave," the bartender finally said. "No one lives there. There isn't even a road. There's only one thing there." "What thing?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached under the counter, rummaged around for a while, and then pulled out a revolver. Old, worn, with a grip wrapped in electrical tape. He placed it in front of Evelyn, looked at it, then put it back. "No," he said. "Won't help. But this..." He pulled a small suede pouch from his breast pocket. "This is for you. Maria's widow gave it to me. Said if anyone asks about the horses, to give it to them." Evelyn took the pouch, loosened the drawstring. Inside was a medallion, a piece of wood carved with intricate patterns, threaded with hair and beads. When her fingers touched the wood, a chill ran across her skin, unlike anything she had ever felt before, as if someone had drawn a blade along her spine. "Who was Maria?" she asked. The bartender crossed himself. Slowly, with an old-fashioned dignity you wouldn't expect from him. Maria was the one who knew the mountains. She was born here, before there were roads. Her grandmother was a shaman from a tribe that lived in these parts before the white men came. Maria used to say there's something in the mountains we can't see. And horses, they're not just horses. Some of them come to take you somewhere you don't return from, and some to bring you back. He fell silent, as if he wanted to say something more, but changed his mind. "Maria died 6 years ago," he finally said. "But before she died, she made this medallion and said, 'Give it to the one who comes looking for their sister, and tell them, don't trust your eyes, trust the foal.'" Evelyn put the medallion on. The wood was warm, despite the cold, in the bar. Or maybe it only seemed that way. "How much?" she asked, pulling out her wallet. "For what?" "For the horse. I need one to get there. My car won't make it past the dirt road." The bartender looked at her for a long moment, then nodded toward the back door. "Go out. You'll see a bay mare, old but smart. She'll take you where you need to go, and she'll bring you back if you want to return. If not, she'll find her own way home. She always does." "How much?" Evelyn repeated. "Nothing," the bartender said. "I'm not selling you a horse. I'm seeing you off. And the horse, it's a gift from Maria. She always said you don't take money for a horse if it's going somewhere people might not come back from. It's a bad omen." Evelyn stepped outside. The sun was already setting, painting the mountains the color of old copper. By the hitching post, tied by the bridle, stood a bay mare. Old, with gray in her mane, ribs showing, and calm eyes that had seen more than Evelyn could imagine. The mare looked at her, snorted softly, and nudged her hand with her nose, as if to say, "I know where we're going. Don't be afraid." Evelyn spent the night in her car because there was no motel in town, and the bartender said his couch still remembered Vietnam, and that 2 people had already died on it. She barely slept. She kept replaying Anna's last message in her head. Found it. Heading home. 3 words. 7, if you count the prepositions. And nothing more. 3 months of silence. The police conducted an aerial search by helicopter and found her car on an abandoned forest road 50 miles from town. Inside the car, her belongings, her phone, her favorite unicorn mug that she carried everywhere. And nothing else. There were no tracks around the car, no footprints, no tire marks, no blood. As if Anna had simply vanished. At dawn, Evelyn saddled the bay mare. The bartender came out to see her off. In his hands, he held an old saddle, worn smooth with age, and he handed it to her. "Here," he said. "It belonged to Maria. She left it to whoever would follow her trail." Evelyn took the saddle. The leather was soft, warm, as if it had just been lifted from a horse's back. She set it on the mare, checked the girth, tightened the straps. The bartender stood watching her work in silence. "What do you know about that place?" Evelyn asked without turning around. "Only what Maria used to say. Up in those mountains, there's a valley. Not on maps, not in GPS, not in the Forest Service records. A valley you can only see when it lets you. And there are horses there. Wild, white as the first snow. And they say that sometimes there's one among them with blue eyes, just like a human's. Horses don't have blue eyes. Ordinary ones don't," the bartender agreed. "But the ones that aren't entirely horses do." He paused, then added, "Maria used to say that something lives in that valley, something that was here before us, and sometimes it comes in the form of a horse to take those who have lost their way, or to lead out those who still can be found." Evelyn swung into the saddle. The mare stood calmly beneath her, as if it had been waiting for this moment all its life. "Do you believe that?" she asked the bartender. He smirked, but there was no humor in it. "I believe what I've seen, and what I've seen is 3 men, strong, healthy, armed to the teeth, go up into those mountains after horses. Only one came back, and he didn't say a word. He just sat on that stool." The bartender nodded toward a stool by the counter and stared at the wall for 3 days. On the 4th day, he got up and walked back toward the mountains, and no one ever saw him again. What happened to him? No one knows. But while he sat here, he kept repeating one thing. "They don't take us, they return us, but not all of us." Evelyn touched the reins. The mare stepped forward, and within a minute, the bar and that strange town were left behind, dissolving into the morning haze. On the 1st day, she rode along a dirt road that grew worse with every mile. First ruts, then just 2 worn tracks in the earth, then a path barely visible through tall grass. The mare moved with steady confidence, never faltering, choosing the way as if she knew it by heart. Evelyn didn't guide her. She simply sat in the saddle, holding the reins loosely, letting the animal lead. By evening, she reached the place where the police had found Anna's car, the same green Toyota her sister had bought with her first real money. The car was still there on the roadside, covered in dust, one tire flat. Evelyn dismounted and walked up to it. Inside, it was empty, just as the police had said. But she noticed something that hadn't been in the report. On the back seat, under the driver's seat, lay a small notebook. Anna always carried it with her. Evelyn opened it. The pages had been torn out, all except the last one. On it were just 3 words: "He is here, they," and a drawing, a horse rearing up, and a figure falling from it. The figure had no face. Evelyn slipped the notebook into her pocket. When she turned back to the mare, it was standing still, staring toward the mountains, its ears tense like a dog that had heard something beyond human hearing. "What is it?" Evelyn asked. The mare snorted and tossed its head. Evelyn swung back into the saddle, and they moved on, toward where the trail disappeared into a pine forest so dense that sunlight pierced the canopy only in rare golden needles. She spent the night by a small stream, built a fire, and ate from her rations. The mare grazed nearby, never straying far, and from time to time lifted its head, listening to something. Evelyn listened too, but heard only the wind, the crackle of branches, and the distant call of an owl. On the second day, she began to hear them. At first, she thought it was the wind, but the sound was too rhythmic, too persistent. A soft knocking, like hooves on stone, but lighter, faster. It began about an hour after sunrise and didn't stop until evening, always staying just at the edge of hearing. Evelyn turned around, peered into the forest, but saw no one. Only flashes of something white between the trunks, vanishing the moment she tried to look directly at it. The mare heard it too. Each time the sound grew louder, its ears flattened, its nostrils flared, and it took a few steps back, as if wanting to turn around. But then, strangely, it would calm down, lower its head, exhale, and keep going. "Do you know what it is?" Evelyn asked, leaning toward the mare's neck. It only snorted in response. On the third day, the forest opened up. Evelyn rode out onto a vast clearing surrounded by rocks, and immediately understood that this place was different. The air here felt heavier, denser, as if time itself moved more slowly. The grass grew tall, up to her waist, and where the shadows of the rocks ended, she could see tracks. Many tracks. Hoofprints, large and small, fresh and old, intertwined in a complex pattern, unlike anything Evelyn had ever seen. Not her sister's, someone else's. 3 sleeping bags arranged in a circle, an extinguished fire with a soot-blackened pot hanging above it, empty cans of stew neatly stacked by a rock, and a hitching post, makeshift, made of 2 logs with wire stretched between them, clumps of mane hung from the wire. Light, almost white. Evelyn jumped down from the saddle and ran to the hitching post. The hair, no, horsehair, was caught between the steel strands of the wire, torn out by the roots, with bits of skin still attached. She ran her fingers over it, and her heart sank. It was the same shade as Anna's hair, light ash blonde with a golden tint, the kind of color you see in Palomino horses and in people who spend a lot of time in the sun. She searched the camp. In one of the sleeping bags, the one farthest away, under a pillow made from a rolled-up jacket, she found a notebook, the same one whose pages had been torn out in the car. Evelyn opened it. Drawings, many drawings. Horses running through the mountains, horses standing on cliffs, horses looking straight at the viewer with human-like eyes, and one drawing that made Evelyn forget how to breathe. Anna had drawn herself, standing beside a horse, a white horse with blue eyes, and beneath the drawing, a caption. She said she would show me the way home. I believe her. Evelyn turned the page. On the next one, a date. 2 weeks ago. After that, blank pages. She took the notebook and ran out of the camp. The mare was standing exactly where she had left it, staring toward a gorge Evelyn hadn't noticed before. It opened between 2 rocks, so narrow that a horse could barely squeeze through. And from within, from its depths, came a smell. Metallic, sharp, blood. Is it there? Evelyn asked. The mare stepped toward the gorge and stopped. For the first time, it refused to go. It stood trembling, its whole body shaking, staring at the entrance as if there were something inside that it knew and feared. Evelyn dismounted. She stroked the mare's face. "Wait here," she said. "I'll be back." The mare snorted but didn't move. Evelyn took a flashlight and a knife and stepped into the gorge. The walls closed in overhead, leaving only a narrow strip of sky, already darkening toward sunset. She walked, and each step echoed, returning to her again and again, as if the gorge held not one, but many beings repeating her movement. After 100 steps, she realized she was hearing more than just her own echo. A soft knocking, the same sound that had followed her for the past 2 days. Now it wasn't outside. It was here, inside, ahead of her, and it was getting closer. Evelyn froze, switched on the flashlight. The beam caught a figure in the darkness, 20 feet ahead. White, almost glowing in the dim light. A foal. Small, no more than 3 or 4 months old. Its mane white as first snow, its tail long, brushing the ground. She stood there. Evelyn somehow knew it was a she, and looked straight at her. And she had eyes. Blue, bright blue, like the sky in the mountains, like water in a glacial lake. Horses don't have eyes like that. Evelyn couldn't move. The foal stood still, only her nostrils flaring as she took in the scent of a human. Then she stepped forward, 1 step, another, and suddenly she made a sound. It wasn't a whinny. It was something between a cry and a call. Low, drawn out, a sound that made Evelyn's heart tighten and brought tears to her eyes. There was sorrow in it, so deep, so ancient, that it felt as if she were hearing the voice of the earth itself, mourning something lost. "Did you bring me here?" Evelyn whispered. "Was it you making that sound in the forest?" The foal came closer, very close. Evelyn reached out her hand, and the small muzzle touched her palm. The skin was icy, not just cold. Icy, as if the foal had just stepped out of a mountain stream. "Where is my sister?" Evelyn asked. The foal stepped back, turned around, took a few steps deeper into the gorge, stopped, looked back, and made that same call. Evelyn followed her. They walked for what felt like an hour, maybe more. Evelyn lost track of time. The foal moved quickly but did not run, keeping a distance of about 10 steps, constantly glancing back to make sure Evelyn was still following. Sometimes she stopped and waited for her to catch up, and in those moments Evelyn could see how the foal's thin back trembled, how tense her muscles were, as if she were forcing herself to keep going. Then the gorge widened, and they stepped into a small valley enclosed by sheer rock walls. Down here, there was no grass, only bare ground, trampled into mud, and puddles of water collected in hoof-made depressions. And in the middle of the valley, a pen, hastily built from rough planks fastened together with wire. Inside, empty. But the ground within was packed down as if an animal had been kept there for a long time, and on the wooden boards, dark stains, blood. Evelyn stepped closer. She saw drag marks leading from the pen deeper into the valley, toward the black opening of a cave, and along those tracks, small hoof prints. The foal had gone back and forth, again and again, as if trying to enter the cave, but couldn't. Or didn't dare. Evelyn shone her light into the cave. The beam hit a bend. From inside came a smell. Metallic, sharp, and something sweet beneath it that made her throat tighten with nausea. She knew that smell. When they were kids, she and Anna had found a dead dog that had lain in a ditch for days. It was the same. "I'm here," she said, not knowing to whom. "I'm here. I'm coming." She stepped into the cave. The foal remained outside. Evelyn could hear her striking the ground with her hoof, making that same call, but now it wasn't sorrow in it. It was something else. Hope. The cave sloped downward, growing narrower. Evelyn walked with the flashlight held out in front of her, and shadows leapt along the walls, turning stalactites into bones and cracks into faces. At 400 steps, she felt the ground beneath her become damp. At 550, the walls widened, and at 600, she saw her. A person sat leaning against the wall, head bowed, hands tied behind the back with a rope that had cut into the wrists, light hair, dirty and tangled, falling over the face. A jacket, green, old, with a faded sleeve. Evelyn recognized it instantly. Anna had bought that jacket 8 years ago at a sale, proud that she had saved $40, and wore it every autumn, refusing to buy a new one. Anna? Evelyn breathed and rushed forward. Her sister was alive, barely. Her breathing was weak and shallow, her pulse thread-like. Her skin was cold, her lips cracked, but she was breathing. Evelyn cut the rope, helped Anna lie more comfortably, lifted her face, brushed the hair from her forehead. Anna opened her eyes. There was such terror in them that Evelyn recoiled. Not just fear, something greater. Something that had seen a thing for which human language had no name. "Run," Anna whispered. Her voice was dry, like the rustle of grass. "He'll come, for the horse. He always comes for the horse." "Who? Who will come?" Anna shook her head, and Evelyn saw how much effort that simple motion cost her. "He was waiting for her to bring someone. He can't leave until she brings a replacement. She brought me, and now she's brought you." Evelyn didn't understand. She tried to lift her sister, but Anna was too weak, unable to stand. And then, from outside, came a sound. Heavy footsteps and a cry. The foal was crying, piercing, desperate, the way animals cry when they sense death. "Leave," Anna said, grabbing Evelyn's hand. Her fingers were ice cold, but her grip was iron. "He'll let me go if he gets her. He always lets go, if he gets the horse." "What do you mean, gets her? What does he do to it?" Anna didn't answer. She was staring toward the cave entrance, and there was something in her eyes Evelyn couldn't read. Fear? Or something else? "She's not a horse," Anna said. "I thought she was just an animal. But she's smarter. She knew. She was waiting. She was looking for someone who could go where she couldn't. And she found one. She found you." Outside, there was a heavy odor, a dull, solid thud, as if something had hit the ground. Then silence. Then footsteps again. This time, they were coming toward the cave. A heavy thud sounded from outside, dull, solid, like something hitting the ground. Then silence, thick and unnatural. Then the footsteps returned, slow, measured. This time they were coming toward the cave. Evelyn left Anna against the wall, pulled out her knife, and ran outside. In the valley near the entrance to the cave stood a man. Huge, well over 6 feet tall, dressed in filthy clothes, holding a short length of metal pipe. His face was covered in scars, his beard matted and tangled, and his eyes empty, white, like a blind man's. But he wasn't blind. He was looking straight at Evelyn. The foal lay on the ground about 10 feet away from him. She was trying to get up, but her front leg was twisted beneath her, and she couldn't stand. Her eyes were open, and in them Evelyn saw fear, but not for herself. "Give me the horse," the man said. His voice was low, rumbling, as if stones were grinding in his throat. "And I'll let the other one go." Evelyn tightened her grip on the knife. She knew she had no chance against this man with a metal pipe, but she couldn't step back. "Who are you?" she asked. The man smirked. There was no humor in it. "I'm the one who cannot leave. I've been here." "How long?" He looked at his hands as if trying to remember. "Years. Decades. I came here for horses and they didn't let me go. They said I could leave only if I brought someone in my place. And I do. And they come. Because He nodded toward the foal. Calls them, and they follow. He took a step forward. "She's not a horse. She's something that was here before us. The spirit of this place, or something like it. I don't know. I only know that she chooses people, leads them here, and then He stopped, and for a moment something human flickered in his eyes. "I do what I have to, so I can leave." "And how many were there?" Evelyn asked. "How many people did you replace?" The man didn't answer. He was looking at the foal, and in his gaze there was something Evelyn didn't expect. Pity. "She's not to blame," he said quietly. "She doesn't understand. She just does what she was made to do. She looks for someone who can help, but no one can help. No one. Only replace." He raised the pipe. "Step aside. I don't want to hurt you. I only need the horse." Evelyn didn't move. Instead, she took the medallion the bartender had given her from around her neck. The wood was warm, even though the valley was cold. She lifted it above her head. The man froze. His face changed instantly. The scars seemed to pale. His eyes widened. He stared at the medallion as if he were seeing a ghost. "Where did you get that?" he whispered. His voice trembled. "From a woman who knew you were here," Evelyn said. "From Maria. She said this would stop you." The man stepped back. He retreated slowly, and in each step there was something childlike, helpless. He was no longer frightening. He looked broken. "Maria," he repeated. "She promised. She said if I stayed, if I kept watch, she would find a way to let me go. But she died, and I stayed. I stayed here forever." "You won't stay," Evelyn said. She didn't know why she was saying it. The words came on their own, as if someone else were whispering them through her. "You'll leave today, because she nodded at the foal. "Won't search anymore. She found the one she needed." The man went still. He looked at the foal. At last, she managed to stand. Unsteady, trembling, but standing. She looked at him with her blue eyes. "Are you letting me go?" he asked, and there was so much hope in his voice that it almost hurt to hear. "You're letting yourself go," Evelyn said. "Now." The man lowered the pipe. It slipped from his hand and fell to the ground with a dull thud. He looked at his hands, empty now, and suddenly began to cry. Quietly, soundlessly, like a child who doesn't understand why it hurts. Then, from behind, came footsteps. Many footsteps, and light. Flashlights, more than one. People were moving through the gorge, and among them Evelyn recognized the farmer who had given her the mare, the sheriff, the woman from the tack shop, and the bartender. The bartender walked in front, gripping the same old revolver he had shown Evelyn in the bar. "We found him," the farmer said, stopping. "We found him." The man didn't try to run. He stood with his arms lowered, looking at the approaching people. And in his eyes there was relief. Complete, absolute. Like he had been waiting for this moment for centuries. The sheriff put handcuffs on him. The man didn't resist. As they led him away, he turned and looked at the foal. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm sorry I couldn't. I'm sorry I was weak." The foal stood still, watching him go. And for a moment, it seemed to Evelyn that there were tears in her blue eyes. Then everything moved quickly. An ambulance, a helicopter, the hospital. Anna spent 3 days in intensive care, dehydration, exhaustion, severe hypothermia. But she was alive, and that was what mattered. During all that time, Evelyn didn't leave the hospital. She sat beside her sister's bed, holding her hand. Sometimes, when Anna woke, they would look at each other in silence, because everything that needed to be said had already been said the moment Evelyn walked into the cave and found her. On the 4th day, when Anna was moved to a regular room, the bartender came to visit. He brought the foal. She was in a trailer, covered with a blanket. When Evelyn stepped out into the parking lot, the foal lifted her head and made that same sound, a low, drawn-out call that made Evelyn's eyes sting again. "The vet checked her," the bartender said. "Says she's healthy. Give it 3 weeks and she'll be as good as new. Only..." He paused. "He said it doesn't make sense. A horse living out there that long should be worn down, sick, something. But she's in perfect condition, like someone's been taking care of her." "Someone was," Evelyn said quietly. "The man in the cave. He was protecting her. He said she's not a horse." The bartender looked at her for a long time. Maria said the same thing. She said that in the mountains there is something that was here before us, and that sometimes it comes in the form of a horse to help those who have lost their way, or to find those who can help others. "And what do we do with it now?" The bartender shrugged. "Maria left you the medallion and the saddle. I suppose she would have left the horse too, if you wanted it." Evelyn approached the trailer. The foal looked at her with her blue eyes, and there was nothing supernatural in that gaze. Only trust, only gratitude, and something else Evelyn couldn't name. Love, probably. "Do you want to come with me?" she asked. The foal nudged her hand with her nose. Her skin was warm and alive. Evelyn named her Lucky, not because luck had led her to her sister, but because it was lucky that this little white horse with blue eyes had chosen her. Of all those who could have come to the mountains, of all those who could have heard her call. 3 weeks later, when Anna was discharged, they went home together. Lucky traveled in the trailer, and alongside, on a lead, walked the old chestnut mare that Evelyn had never returned to the bartender because he refused to take her back. "She's yours now," he said. "She chose you. And when a horse chooses a person, arguing is pointless." A year passed. Evelyn built a small corral and a shed on her land. Lucky grew into a beautiful mare, white as the first snow, with a mane that flowed in the wind and eyes that seemed to see more than ordinary horse eyes. Anna lived nearby, in a small house they had renovated together. She rarely spoke of what had happened in the mountains, but sometimes, at night, Evelyn would hear her step onto the porch and talk to Lucky, quietly, almost in whispers, in a language only the two of them understood. The man who had been arrested in the Gorge was declared insane. He was sent to a specialized clinic where, according to doctors, he spent the rest of his life drawing horses and repeating one phrase: "She is not a horse, she is the door. I guarded the door." Evelyn sometimes thinks about this as she sits on her porch, watching Lucky graze in the corral, and Anna almost herself again, laughing at something while stroking her snow-white mane. And then Evelyn touches the medallion that still hangs around her neck and thanks the woman she never met for knowing she would need help, and for sending it in the form of a little white mare with blue eyes, who was not afraid of the dark and knew the way to places no one else dared enter. Because sometimes the scariest story is not the one where you lose hope. It is the one where you refuse to follow the one calling you. Even if the one calling is just a little foal who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. Thank you for watching and spending this time with us. If this story touched your heart, please support the channel by liking the video and subscribing. Your support helps us continue sharing powerful stories like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a story.